G-Bolt here, out on the trail. Thought I'd do a little bit of discussing and a little bit of rambling on some thoughts I've had this morning out for a practice hike. And I recognize that most people don't even know what a practice hike is and don't think about a practice hike. But I think it's wise that everybody practice. We all know that when you're trying to be good at something, you've got to practice. Whether that be competitive sports, whether that be shooting, whether that be cooking, I don't care what you want to do, but whatever you do, you're going to need to practice to be good at it. And so I think hiking's the same way. Some would disagree and say it's just putting one foot in front of the other and walking's walking, but I think there's a difference between walking, hiking, backpacking, and long distance backpacking. Each requires different things and different levels of exertions and different body of knowledge. So when I walk to walk. When I hike, day hike, I need a purpose, it's practice, and when I backpack, it's usually overnight and I've got equipment issues and other things. And so days like today, you get out in the woods and go to your favorite metro park, your favorite area to walk. I choose this location because it has different mileage and two different areas to where you can do anywhere from 3 miles up to 30 miles, and then repeating some. You could do 40, 50 miles if you wanted to. I think the most anybody really needs to do is 30 miles a day. That's probably tops. That's kind of crazy doing that and then moving on to others, but to each their own. I'm not a marathon hiker and I'm not a marathon runner. So when it comes to practice, I think you need to have an area that you know, and you know it's marked out, you know where you're at, you've hiked it a number of times, to where you know various bail points, you know how to time your mileage, and that's all part of the practice. I usually, when I'm practicing, I wear a full pack. It may only contain 10, 13 pounds. But I use the same pack I use when backpacking. That way I get used to the way it feels, I get used to the way it rides, it carries different weights. And then I set out and I adjust it, I make sure it's loaded for what I need to load it for, and then I try and figure out what it is that I'm looking to do that day. It could be working with the poles, it could be carrying the poles, it could be doing something simple like I'm going to hike out and I'm going to collect water from this water source in Sawyer and practice that. A number of times I'll hike out and I'll carry a food bag. I always carry a food bag in case I want to snack and want to relax. But I'll find some spot that I think, God, I want to practice bear bagging. And so I'll just stop and pull out the bear bag and throw it up over the limb and practice that. You got to practice. You got to know your equipment. You got to know what you're doing. Later on today, I plan on, the purpose for today is to simply hike out, halfway point, set up a hammock and tarp, maybe take a nap, show that setup, practice with the camera, and then hike back and call it a day. Any day out in the woods is better than a day spent anywhere else in a lot of ways. So I just thought, it was important to share that little bit of knowledge with you, that there's nothing wrong with getting out and practicing. This morning on the way in, I saw a guy hiking out, I would imagine hiking back to his vehicle, and he had on a smaller pack, but it was still a backpack, and he was practicing. I could tell he was just putting in the miles, because you got to get to where you just know it. It's like I mentioned earlier, taking a pistol to a range, you got to know your gun, you got to use it, you got to practice it, you got to shoot it, you got to put rounds through it. With backpacking, Day hiking, same thing. You got to know your equipment. You got to put your mind to it. You got to get out. You got to do it. You got to do it. Um, and it's not tough. Anybody can do it. I started walking a mile in the neighborhood, then 2 miles in the neighborhood. Then I found a metro park where I could do a 2-mile loop and get out of the hot sun and off the concrete. And then I went to longer miles, and then most metro parks are topped out at about 6 miles round trip. And so I still use them when I'm going out for 6 miles, a 2 hour, 3 miles per hour, 2 miles per hour. Go out and hike and see what you can do. And then I turn around and I do longer trips of 10 miles, day hikes, 10 miles, 5 hours. It's not much of anything, but it's good practice. And like I said, I'll carry a full pack. I'll carry and decide maybe I want to set up the tarp, maybe I want to set up the tent, maybe I want to set up a bear bag, and then I hike out, and that gets me ready for the next week when I'm doing an overnighter. That way the next week I know exactly that I'm prepared. I'm not going to be too stressed. My legs, arms, back are in shape. My equipment's ready to go. So like anything, you got to get to the point where you just practice and you hike your own hike. Hope this sharing has been informative. Look forward to the next section that I'm going to do later on today. I'm going to set up the hammock and tarp and just show my general setup. So have a great day.